How's it going, guys? Skoks, Chicago Blackhawks Central here. Just gonna wrap up this NHL Combine, scouting combine. Some of the news tidbits from the beat writers. I think a few of them were there at the combine. I don't remember exactly where the combine was. I believe in Buffalo, was it? Yeah, so Buffalo, New York. Ben Pope was there. Scott Powers was there. Charlie Roumeliotis, he was there. Scott Wheeler, not from the Blackhawks beat, but a good scouting resource. Stephen Ellis, another great uh, scouting source, right? Lots of content from those guys, and I'm going to run through just a lot of what went on and some of the news that came out for the Hawks. So let's get into that. But let me roll the intro. Yeah, so let's start from the first tidbit that came out from the combine here from Ben Pope. So let's take a look at the first quote from GMKD. He was there, had a small press conference, very short, but a few interesting quotes here from him. So, from Ben Pope, Chicago Sun-Times here, just talked to Kyle Davidson at the NHL Combine in Buffalo. Notably, he shot down any possibility of a Patrick Kane reunion. Pretty obvious, right? We've talked about it many times. It's not going to happen. He's not coming back, and uh, we're on to the next chapter here, and that's, I think, a very good thing. So, in quote from GMKD, he did have a really good year. I think we're all really happy to see that, but we made some really tough decisions on some long-standing players. I don't foresee us going back on that. So, it seems like KD and staff and the ownership, they are past that, and that's what we've all been saying, right? They're on to the next era, and I don't think we should hang on to that one anymore. Really, no reason for it, right? So the next quote from Ben Pope is from KD once again on the number 2 pick. So quote from him: "The debate is still very real. I thought we would have a decision at this point." So that's interesting there. Um, Decision at this point, which is not a bad thing at all. But I think there are some really good options out there, and so it's something that we're knocking around. We'll take a little bit of a break after the combine and revisit that in 7 to 10 days. So they're taking about a week off, and they will, reconvene and get down to it. Probably make a decision on who we're going to take at number 2. Um, so they met with Artem Levshinov, had dinner, and all the scouting type of things at the combine. And so KD gonna wait about a week, but when you think about the when is that mid June Russian scouting, right? Sort of like Russian combine, but it wasn't involved with the NHL uh, because they're just not allowed to, right? So uh, there is going to be a bit of uh, an event, I guess, with the Russian prospects. Able to meet them, talk to them. So we'll see what happens with that with Ivan Demidov and other Russian prospects as well, right? Um, so we'll see how that goes. I don't remember exactly when it is, but I believe it is in Florida. So they will make their way down to Florida and get their eyes on Ivan Demidov as well. So I think the timetable of a decision on this number 2 pick, it's going to have to be after that Florida Russian combine because they want to get their eyes on all these players. So that makes total sense. And whether it's leaning one way or another right now, not sure, right? But like I said before, I'm totally fine with either player, Demidov or Levshinov. I don't think GMKD would make the move for Lindstrom at two as of right now, but I have checked out some of Lindstrom's interviews from the combine, and it seems like he's close to 100%, and he's skating a lot during the week. So is he someone that's a surprise pick? We'll see. But June 28th, that's the day. Third quote here from Charlie Romeliotis, Blackhawks GM Kyle Davidson said it's very unlikely that Chicago trades the number 2 overall pick, which is no surprise. I mean, just pointing out the obvious, I guess, right? We're not going to trade that pick. That wouldn't make much sense to me. The players that are available to us at 2, you can't trade down unless something crazy happens, right? Something crazy with a prospect happens, or you know, or if there's just a crazy deal that someone sends over. But I don't think that would ever happen for this year, right? What's up, man? Yep. Just going over the scouting combine, some of the news that came out for the Hawks, and just some things that I think we should all take a look at. And it's all pretty interesting, and it's gonna play a factor here on draft day, June 28th, round one. So Ben Pope put out another post. Davidson said the Blackhawks are still talking with some of their own pending free agents. Quote, we'll see if we can get something worked out with a few of them. And Ben put here, I would guess Joey Anderson is among that group. I think that's correct. I think Joey Anderson played very well last year for the type of player he is, right? Mostly an AHL player, but he filled a role um, throughout the lineup last season, playing in the bottom six. At times, he was, contributing with Foligno and Dickinson. Just a very stout line. Last season, thought he played very well for what we needed from him, and I think he could be a nice, valuable filler type of player if you need someone to stick in there and play in the bottom six or possibly middle six if you have to, right? Wouldn't love to see that every night, every game, right? But we'll see what happens with the RFAs, right, for the Hawks. That news will probably be out more after the draft, right? So we'll get into that stuff after the draft. Another post from Ben Pope with a picture of Levshinov, and I believe that's Zeev Buyam there sitting next to him. Could be wrong, but he has Artem Levshinov. Said he went to dinner with the Blackhawks here in Buffalo last night after talking a bunch of times previously. Very obvious, right? Playing at Michigan State, not far at all for the Hawks staff, the scouting staff. So definitely they have been in contact before, and I think every team would, right? Just with the distance of Michigan State, definitely a very easy thing to do, just with the distance alone. So let's take a look at the next post here from Charlie Romeliotis. Artem Levshinov, who's in the conversation for number 2 overall, said he had dinner with the Chicago staff on Thursday night and talked to them a bunch of times throughout the season. But he had a quote, Artem. He said, "We'll see what happens." He seems like a very friendly, person. Bit of a jokester. Reminds me of Bulls GM Arturas Karnisovas. He looks just like physically very very similar to AK with the Bulls. Sounds like him too, right? I believe he's only 19, right? Levshinov, but he looks exactly like AK. If anyone else noticed that as well, if you follow the Bulls, you know that AK is just maddening to listen to now. He's delusional, but uh, sounds sounds like him, looks like him. Just something funny that I you know came across here with Artem Levshinov. Interesting quote here from Stephen Ellis. Caden Lindstrom said Connor Bedard and Zach Ostapchuk were among the most difficult players he played against during his WHL career so far. Zane Perrick mentioned Easton Cohen. Yeah, so I mean, not much to say there. Connor Bedard was the best player in the dub by far. So yeah, not much to take away from that one. But Charlie Romeliotis put out from Celebrini, so he sat in on the Celebrini press conference here. Macklin Celebrini said Connor Bedard reached out a while back to offer guidance on how to handle the attention during the draft process as a consensus number one overall pick. Um, Very interesting from Connor Bedard to reach out to a friend, right, with Macklin Celebrini, and I think that's the right thing to do. Uh, and I think it's obvious, right, that he was gonna be involved with him during this draft time. You know, just giving him tips and tricks and stuff like that on how to handle it because there was a lot to handle. Steely, if we were to take Levshinov, probably butchered his name. I believe that's how you spell it. Let me double check. Levshunov. So it's Levshunov, but close enough, right? Levshunov. How would he be a complement to the Blackhawks? Yeah. So Max and I got pretty in depth with the projection. At least, right? He can be on the first pair, whether it's, stapled as that number one guy, right? So he's your best offensive defenseman and your best defensive defenseman. Do I think he'll, be the stapled in number one guy? Not sure right now, but definitely a top pair player, whether he's a big numbers output type of D man, or just solid all around stout defenseman. Uh, like I think about like a Duncan Keith that's just not, um, you know, that crafty and nifty like with his speed like that, but definitely a top pair defenseman on the right side, which is a very very valuable and yeah, we got into that like fit a lot, but the projections there, we'll see uh, if we go with Levshinov, but it'll be very interesting to see how he develops. But that's all projection right now, even with a player like uh, Ivan Demidov, his ceiling is unbelievable, but it's the NHL and anything could happen. So players have to take advantage of their situation, right? They really got to lean into the development. They have to do everything right to reach their potential. But we'll see how that works out. Yeah, but definitely fine with Levshinov or Demidov, whoever we take. Um, I believe I said it before a few times, but I would like the forward, right, with Demidov, for a number of reasons with the offense and Bedard and all that. But yeah, definitely fine with either, and a great ceiling for both players. Let's see here. Scott Powers, he has a lot of juicy quotes, a lot of juicy articles, has a lot of sources all over the place. with the Hawks and even in Russia, it seems like Scott Powers, crazy man. Let's see here. The Blackhawks now have more info on Artem Levshunov after taking him to dinner at Buffalo Chop House this week. Sounds good. Steakhouse. Next up is time with Ivan Demidov in Florida. And then Kyle Davidson and company should be ready to decide who to take at number 2. So it sounds like uh, him and I were on the same page, right? Like I said a few minutes ago, after meeting both players, the top two options at 2, they're going to take the time and decide who they're going to go with, and that's pretty much it because the draft starts at 2 after Celebrini to the Sharks, right? Unless something crazy happens, which we don't foresee. But it's down to these 2 kids, so we'll see how that goes. But Scott Powers is definitely pumping out some good stuff here for the Hawks content. Let's see here. Charlie Romeliotis, he just put out a few clips and videos from the combine from Levshunov, just his jumping and stretching and all that stuff. Let's see here, warming up ahead of the fitness testing portion. Here we go. Artem Levshunov officially measures in at 6'1". 6'1", 205 pounds. So, I mean, sure, he's not 6'2" or 6'3", but does he grow an inch maybe? With the professional regiment and, the training that goes behind it, just building out his frame maybe. And he's still young. He was previously listed at 6'2", 208 pounds. So, pretty close. Yeah. Pretty much 6'2", right? 1.75. So you could round that up. 6'2", 205. And the pounds, that doesn't matter right now because the professional program, they're going to make sure that you are ready in all aspects to compete in the NHL. Levshunov's vertical jump in slow motion from Scott Powers. Let's check the comments really quick before I finish up on the quotes. What's up, Pat? Could Demidov be just as productive as what Patrick Kane was at the right wing position? I think that's interesting. The overall skill, just the natural skill um, for Ivan Demidov, I think he could have that type of impact like what Kaner did, right? And I'm not comparing like his playoff performances because we don't know how that would project right now, but just the overall skill and the threat on the ice, like Patrick Kane was, right? He was a threat every time he was on the ice um, with the puck and away from the puck in the O-zone, just carrying the puck, right? Just a very dangerous offensive player. That is what Demidov is. Just watching his tape again yesterday, his shift by shift. I watched a few games of his again just to get a refresher on it. But yeah, Demidov is a threat on every shift. The way that he skates, I know people talk about his top speed and all that, but the shiftiness to his game and just his skating angles. Forgot the term of it, but he has a sideways, like curving technique with his skates, similar to what Connor McDavid and Connor Bedard have at times, where they just shift their body and turn their feet outward, right? So it's like a twirl, but awesome skating from him, and yeah, he's dangerous on every shift, whether it's to score or create a play, get into the ozone, you know, get an assist. He's a very crafty player, and yeah, it's very very tempting, right? At number 2, a few questions here. Do you see? What's up, Luke? Do you see any prospect in the system with legit star potential? 0.8 points per game forward, or 40 45 defensemen. In the system right now, legit star potential. Um, if you just look at it, I wouldn't consider Korchinski like a straight up prospect right now because he did play a full year in the NHL, but I do think that he can be a star defenseman. With his development, uh, continuing and the defensive pairings that he has with him down the line, I think he could definitely be a star player with us. Just looking at the defense, does Rinzel have a chance to be a very productive offensive defenseman with a decent defensive game, right, in the D zone? I think that's a possibility with Rinzel as well on the right side. So Frank Nazar, I think we talk about him a lot. Um, he has a chance to be a star player, at least for our team, right? A big contributor with assists, playmaking, and he has shown um, the goal output, right? He's a pretty decent goal scorer. So definitely like to see that from Frankie. But yeah, I think Nazar, Korch, Brinzel, um, in the forward system, I don't see a star players really. Oliver Moore, I don't really see a star player, but can he be a star role player for the Hawks, whether it's on the wing or as a center in the top six? Possibly, right? So there's a lot of question marks right now, and I think that's expected, especially with how early it is with the prospect system. Right, it's only a year or two into the full out rebuild, but definitely some interesting options, lateral mobility and Mohawks staking for Demidov is insane. Uh, Lateral mobility. Yeah. Is that what it's called, Luke? The Mohawk skating for Demidov? Yeah. So I guess that's the technique, right? That he has with his skates, similar to Bedard or McDavid, where they just contort their body and shift around in a, like a swirl. Yeah. So awesome. Yeah, man. Mohawk skating. That's great to know now. Yeah, I love that type of technique. It's really it's really deceptive, right, in the ozone and around the net. Very dangerous. Argument for Demidov, in my opinion. If you can't confidently say there are any stars in the pipeline, you got to draft the guy with the best star odds, regardless of position. And I think I'm with you there also. Yeah, there's just a lot of ifs right now, and like I said, I think that's fine because it's still very early on, and we won't know till they're all in the AHL or making their way to the Hawks. We don't know how it's going to develop out here, but definitely you need that top threat, right? That scares the other team, whether that's through free agency, trade, or draft, right? And I think the best way is to draft that player in your system, right? That's big hits, but at least you shift and leads into some big hits, and at least you shift and acceleration very well. Yeah, yeah. So the skating technique, yeah, definitely very very dangerous player. Let's see here. From Troy Romeliotis. Let me finish up on the quotes, and then we will wrap up. Arlen Levshunov said that the only team that took him out to dinner this week was Chicago. He joked that they had a couple beers together. Great sense of humor. Yeah, so seems like a bit of a jokester, definitely. The only team that took him out to dinner this week. So that's, should I say that's interesting, or it might be interesting that the Ducks didn't even take him out to dinner, right? So if we went with a Demidov, then he would be available for the Ducks. So is it something where other teams think that he's just going to go number 2 to the Hawks, or maybe other teams such as the Ducks don't see Levshunov as the number 1 defenseman if he was there at 3. Maybe they go with Salayev or a Buyam over Levshunov, because they definitely have some very interesting traits as well as prospects. Do they see Levshunov as D2 or D3? Maybe that's something that they might be thinking about, possibly, right? So finishing up on the quotes here uh, from Scott Wheeler, full NHL scouting combine results, uh, aerobic duration, number 1, Cole Baudouin, Eliason. Uh, Not sure about these stats, but that's fine. So Ben Pope, yesterday, he put out, we're open-minded and willing to stray from what people think we've especially focused on in the past inside the Blackhawks' approach to the draft this year. So that's a quote from GMKD. We're open-minded and willing to stray from what people think we've especially focused on in the past. And if I'm thinking about this, we focused on skilled, speedy forwards in the past drafts, sort of, right? The first year, it was Korch, Nazar, Rinzel. Last year, lots of forwards, right? With Oliver Moore and Bedard. We're open-minded and willing to stray from what people think we've especially focused on in the past. So is he talking about, hey, let's get a D-man at 2, possibly? Um, that that's an interesting quote from GMKD, possibly the best quote in a while, right? Uh, so we'll see. We will see how that goes. A few more NHL news tidbits, really quick. Here in NHL salary cap, upper limit next season will be $88 million, a slight rise from $87.7 million figure called for in the CBA's MOU. So the salary cap has only went up $300,000. Okay, that's good. Opens up a little contract there. That's completely fine. Frank Saravalli, mark your calendars. Appointment viewing on tap. Team USA versus Team Canada, Saturday, February 15th, 2025. Bell Center, Montreal. So that's going to be awesome. Breaking news there. I believe that was yesterday, premier round robin tournament. Game of 4 nations face off. The first time the best American and Canadian players on the planet will square off since 2014. So that's big time stuff. Definitely cool to see that. Pierre LeBron yesterday. Gary Bettman confirms, that'll be at the Bell Center in Montreal and TD Garden in Boston in February. So very cool to see. And just a few hours ago from Sportsnet, it won't happen until July, but according to multiple sources, the Washington Capitals have reached an agreement to purchase the outstanding cap-friendly website. And I heard something like it's going to be shut down, like it's going to get bought out and shut down. So that really stinks because cap-friendly is very, very helpful, right, for the cap and salaries and depth charts and transactions. That stinks. That's god awful. So I don't know. We'll see how that shakes out too. A few questions here to finish up. Let's see here. Do you see any possibility of the Hawks grabbing another top 10 pick? So there has been some talk with that, right? The last few days or the past week, whether the league feels or just the swirl of rumors, whether we trade up from 18 to a top 15 pick or a top 10 pick. But it seems like there's a little wind out there that seems like we might try to move up a bit higher. Whether that's top 15, I would guess that's more realistic, right? Just looking at the draft, I don't see us getting in the top 10 and there has been a rumor that the New Jersey Devils wanted to trade out of 10. But we'll see how far we can get up if KD wants to move up. If I could pull up the tankathon really quick, not to mock draft, but just take a look at how this may go, um, how the draft might go. So let's see if I have the screen up here. If everyone can see the thing. Yeah. So Celebrini, Deminov, or Levshinov, right? Lindstrom's going to be gone. Eiserman, I don't think he's going 5. That's a little crazy. Billiam, Perrick, Sam Dickinson, Aginla, Cadden, Lenius. Yeah, so top 15. Do you see the possibly like the Flyers moving out of 12 or the Red Wings moving out of 15? I I think 13 through 16 possibly. More like, I mean, if we would move up, I would suspect it would be like 11 through 15. Whether it's with the Red Wings or the Flyers, we'll see how that plays out. But going to be very interesting. June 28th, round 1 of the draft in Vegas at the Sphere. So I'm definitely gonna. It's gonna be a big day, right, for the team. Number 2 overall pick, number 18. So we will be tuned in for that, and we will have the coverage for that as well. But gonna wrap that up here with a lot of scouting combine news for today, a few NHL tidbits, and yeah, we will be back this week for another mock draft, possibly midweek, taking a look at more of the rumors swirling and what other options could be popping up um, around 18 and some trade up options, right? I think we could look into that as well, but we'll wrap that up here and we'll see you next time. Let's go Hawks.